Right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties there for a few seconds. We are doing a midweek slot just to see how it goes with an audience. We're very excited to do 1 week, but we just feel like we need some more. We need to be able to continue the conversation during the week. Because everyone's busy on LinkedIn during the week, so it'd be good to be able to engage with everyone and provide us a spot in the middle of the week to just answer some questions, maybe even talk to some of the things that we're seeing, and it'll give us more content. So if anyone wants to hear us talk about something, please let us know. Send us videos, and we'll discuss those with everyone.
Yes.
So, what's our topic for today?
Well, we're going to talk about something that I think is very fundamental to synthetic intelligence and to natural intelligence as well.
Amazing,
And
amazing! This is going to be great, guys. And before you hear us jump into it, subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to make sure you hear when we come online, so that you get to join us. Let's take it away, Ken.
okay, all right. So, what we're going to talk about is emotions. Um, there is a video I watched today that someone sent me about emotions. There was a woman talking. I'm not going to say anything about that video at this point because I haven't actually gone through it and done it proper justice to actually, analyze it and all of that. We can do that next time, but this was kind of a impromptu response to that. And so what I'm going to do at this point is just share with you, Max, about what I have discovered about emotions over the past 30 years when looking to build this synthetic intelligence system. Okay, so one of the first things is that emotions has historically been seen as a vestige of evolution that is kind of uh, something that people have to tolerate, that is not really necessary. It kind of gets in the way. And in fact, for the majority of the research period over the last decades of artificial intelligence, almost all people who have investigated artificial intelligence have said that emotions is something we don't need to worry about. Okay, that we just go away from that and not actually, you know, pay attention to it because it's just a vestige of a time when people were more primitive and when um, they didn't have the higher intelligence, right? So they were dealing just on an emotional level. Now, this is the prevalent view. Okay, what I just said. There was one guy at MIT some years back that I heard was actually challenging that idea,
Hmm.
and that was about the same time that I also came to an aha moment of realizing what was going on with emotions. Now, I should say how it is that I actually started to investigate how to build a synthetic mind. And that is because I'm not a neuroscientist and I didn't have a brain to actually analyze, to reverse engineer the whole thing, okay, from a biological perspective. I decided that the only thing I could do was investigate what I did have, and that is my own mind inside of here, okay? But the problem is, whenever I tried to look into my own thinking processes, I experienced a type of discomfort. I can describe it as a discomfort or as actually a pain. It was a type of brain pain, okay? That that when I was looking in and trying to observe my thinking processes, I experienced a discomfort. And what I theorized was happening is that my brain was not wired to see those things, okay? And instead what had to happen is by my persistence those connections were made, okay? And it's a discomfortable thing. It's like when you're trying to cram for a new subject, right? A whole new subject you've never seen or heard before, and you're trying to cram in for a test, and you're reading all this stuff and your brain starts to hurt. And I think that what's actually happening is that the neurons are, moving through your brain matter and actually making those connections, and you're feeling a sensation from it. Well, as I persisted and kept looking and looking inward, I did start to be able to do it. I started to be able to watch what was happening, okay, step by step as I was thinking. And what I observed is that without this motivator, this motivating factor, I would not really want to do anything. Because when it came right down to it, what was I doing in life that was logical? It was only logical in that it became the way to achieve what I wanted to do, but what I wanted to do, there was no logical reason for it. Okay? There was something else motivating me, motivating me to do what I was doing. And that's when it started to become very clear that everything that I was doing was driven by this thing that I realized one day. I remember when it happened, it was like a light bulb turned on. And I realized that emotions is what was driving everything, everything that I was doing. Now, but let me clarify what I mean by emotions. I don't mean the kind of emotional responses that people have where they yell or they make faces, angry, right? And they yell or they're happy, 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 happy. No, that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about emotion. A term came to me. Emotion. Emotion. Okay? Not electronic motion, but enlightened motion. This is motion with a purpose, motion for a reason. Okay? And that because when you think about it, all the other motion in the universe, stars, stardust, asteroids, comets, planets, moons, they're all moving with no purpose. They don't have a guiding purpose. They're just following the forces that are around them, that are moving them with no purpose. But there is a place that we know of for certain where there's all kinds of motion happening with purpose behind that motion. And that is here on planet Earth, okay? We do it, the animals do it, the insects do it, the fish do it, okay? So all of this motion that's happening is happening for a reason, and that's what's meant by enlightened, okay? Meaning that there's that the creature has a purpose behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which can vary, right? Which can vary it as well, like for the.
Of course, it varies everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And even the smallest thing like a fly. Okay, you take a fly. I started to see things. I started to see that a fly can be very peaceful and it's just flying around. And then if I go swat at it, guess what it does? It starts going crazy. It starts flying really, really wildly, bumping into things and everything. In fact, it is behaving with fear. Okay, it is behaving with fear, and I recognize it. It's like this thing has fear. So is it possible that every living creature has emotion, and that it's actually what drives creatures to move and do things? Okay, why does a mosquito come and drink your blood by sticking its little little tube into you and sucking the blood out? It's because it's experiencing some kind of hunger, right? Some kind of hunger it's experiencing. Otherwise, why would it do it? Why would we do it? We get hungry, so we go eat. If we never got hungry, would we ever eat? Or would we just start getting weaker and weaker and then just, fall down, okay? Because we don't have any more energy.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, so here's what I came to. By the way, I know I'm kind of doing a monologue, but there's a lot.
No, it's good. It's good. No, it's great. It's great. I mean, if we don't get through it all, we'll take some notes and we'll do it next time.
If you want to interrupt me, by the way, just ask.
Oh, okay? Are you going down the agenda? It's all good. Keep going.
Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. I have you ever played the game Why? Okay, the game of why. So in other words, somebody says something and you say why. You know,
No,
and
I
it's
got
something
beaten
that
in Russia. You get beaten if you do that. You don't ask why.
do
You
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 get
just you
beaten?
just
No,
go
okay.
yes sir, yes sir,
Yeah,
yes
yeah,
sir. That's all I do. I
yeah.
don't do whys. Yeah.
But like where I come from, kids can do it like they're going to be a smart ass to their parents. You know, it's
Ah.
like go clean your room. Why? You know, and because I said so. Why? Right?
No. Come here. Here you go. I
Yeah,
tell you once. I tell
exactly.
you once. Don't ask
I tell,
questions.
I tell you once, you do it or you die.
So,
Okay,
so-
so
oh, you go in the doghouse. Yeah.
yeah. So okay, so if you ask why on anything that you do, okay, um, if you ask honestly and you really dig for some of it to make sure that you get to the right answer, you will keep moving up this chain of reasons,
Yeah.
right? Of of reasons, right? And so eventually you'll arrive at a top reason. And I came to see that that is actually a person's prime directive. For those who watch Star Trek, you know what's meant by a prime directive. Okay, it's your main purpose for why you do everything, basically. Okay, so so we have this notion that people are really following a hierarchy of goals, whether they consciously realize it or not. Okay, um, everybody is following goals that are in a hierarchy. And here's what I mean by hierarchy: you have a high level goal, right? You have a high level goal, and then under it you have sub goals that help you realize that goal.
Mhm.
And you might have alternative scenarios. Like if you have the goal to become wealthy, you might have multiple ways that you could do that. Okay, you might say, well, I could sell real estate, or I could become a banker,
Or you can.
or I could
Yeah.
become a bank robber.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of different ways to do it. Now that was kind of a humorous, but it was also a point that
Yeah.
for each alternative, there are costs involved, and there's penalties, and there's benefits, and ease of doing it, speed of doing it, right? So your mind figures all that out.
Yep.
And how does it figure that out? Well, this is where the idea of a causality graph came from.
Mhm.
Okay, a causality graph is where your mind starts recording that this causes that,
Yep.
right? So you start to form this thing from early childhood. And I think that's why little kids are always putting things in their mouth, because they're going, no, I don't want to eat that. Okay, but this I do want to eat because it tastes good. And why they touch everything, and why they're, because they're learning. They are feeding that causality graph, you know.
Mhm.
And if I do this, like for example, if I'm hungry and I scream, then mom comes and picks me up and feeds me. Oh, that works great. Okay, so I'll just do that from now on. You
So
know.
in a sense, basically, the causality graph is fundamentally like a pattern. Patterns linked together, right, over time, right? So it's one giant
Yeah, you're
pattern.
learning actions.
Yep.
Which actions cause which reactions and
Yep.
cause
Yep.
which chain of events
Yeah.
to happen, right? Now, once your brain starts putting that together, right? A causes B. Now, if you come to the conclusion that, oh, in order to achieve this, I need to have B. I know how to make B happen. I just do A. If I do A, then B will happen. And if B happens, then C will happen. Okay? And that's what the brain is doing. That's what it's putting together. It's building this graph of causality.
Mm-hmm.
And then the goals are the particular path that you choose to follow in order to get results that you want. Now, here's where emotions come in. Okay? And you will not read this anywhere. I've looked.
Mm-hmm.
if somebody knows of a place that actually explains this, okay, please let us know, because I would like to talk to the person that wrote that.
We'll
Okay,
read it.
but
We'll have to read it first and understand, and
yeah,
then
we'll
we
have to
can.
read
Yeah.
it and make sure that it's yeah. But
'Cause-
you know what I'm saying? It's
oh,
like
yeah.
this. This is original discovery over a period of the time that I've been working on this since the 1990s, as to how this all works. Okay,
Yep.
and emotions. See, when you say the word emotions to people, as I said at the start, people think of it as the anger or the sadness or the fear or the happiness or the boredom or the curiosity or the sense of duty and honor. You know, all of that. Those are they think those are the emotions.
Well, there's symptoms basically. Yeah. You're seeing
Well, yeah,
symptoms.
they're symptoms. These are not the emotions. These are emotional responses.
Yep.
Okay. The emotions is what generates those responses, and the reason that it's generating them is because it's your brain telling you that you need to do something. Okay. Because you can think of it this way, that the brain, the mind, is actually a goal pursuing system.
Yep.
that that follows. First, it builds a pattern of the world inside, and then it has a prime directive. It figures out what are the lower level directives that need to be done in order to achieve each higher level one, and those then become your actions that you do.
Yep.
All right. And this model, okay, now you have these goals, right? So here's the question. Are you likely to succeed at a goal or to fail at a goal? Okay? This is what the purpose of emotions is. The purpose of emotions is to guide you when goals are expected to fail or expected to succeed. But before we move on, I'm going to have to then branch off to talk about the two kinds of goals.
Yes, that'll be great.
The two kinds of goals. The reason this is important is because it actually explains and qualifies the different kinds of emotional responses that people typically associate with emotion. Okay, so here we have two kinds. We have the goals of achievement. So these are things that you want to achieve, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, when I say want, that you want to achieve, that's there's two kinds of wanting. You might want it for your own personal pleasure and success and benefit, or you may want it because somebody else told you that you need to want it. Okay? And I'll cover that a little further down, but I'll just say here that one is desire and the other one is your conscience that's telling you what you must do, what you should do, right? So, like if your parents tell you you need to become a doctor, you don't really want to be a doctor, but you know that they're not going to pay for you to do anything else except be a doctor, then you set the goal to become a doctor. Well, now that's like the thing you should do. It's not necessarily what you want to do. And people often have conflict between what they want to do and what they should do. And that's the difference between those two kinds of goals of achievement.
Yeah.
Now, there's another kind of goal that you have as well. And these are actually more powerful and more impacting to you. And these are the goals of avoidance. These are the things that you want to avoid, like the plague, okay? You know, you want to avoid the plague, okay? But you also want to avoid accidents. You want to avoid being burned to death. You want to avoid, you know, getting in a car wreck. You want to avoid getting in a fight unless you're a guy who believes that you can beat everybody up and you like fighting, okay? Then for you, getting in a fight is just a fun night out, you know?
Or getting into debates with people on LinkedIn and just trying to win them all the time.
Do people want to do that? I
Seems to
never
be.
heard of such a thing. Okay, so anyways,
Moving right along.
okay, so yes, goals of avoidance. These are the things that people want to avoid. Like right now, everybody's looking to avoid COVID-19.
Yeah.
Okay. So people have goals for that, and that's why they're willing to wear masks, and why I saw a guy today in his car all by himself, all locked up with all the windows up, wearing a mask, even though we're at level 1 here in New Zealand. Okay, he had a mask on because he's obviously still afraid. Okay, so what does that tell you? Well, what it told me is that goals of avoidance are associated with fear.
Yeah.
They're associated with fear. Okay, so what happens? Your brain sets these goals up. I want to avoid this, 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 and this, and I want to achieve this, 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 and this. All right? And you have high level ones. I want to go to university. Okay? I want to go to school. I want to get a good career. Those are big goals. Okay? Then the little goals are all the way down to I'm going to get through this semester. I'm going to take this class. I'm going to do this paper. Okay? I'm going to do this report. I'm going to take this test, and I'm going to get a good grade on it. The reason you're taking the test is not just because you love taking tests. Is because that is helping you achieve the higher level goal, which is going all the way up.
You bring up a very good point. I mean, I think, I've been watching some other videos and learning some other books on psychology, and a lot of problems psychologically people have is that they have troubles with goals. Or they don't set them, they don't have them, and they don't do any monkey sorting. That's plug monkey sorting of these goals to figure out which ones are more important. So they kind of get lost, you know what I mean?
Yes, because people, you're exactly right. And I would say this, everybody has goals, okay? Generally speaking, on a certain level. Otherwise, they would just sit and stare at the wall all the time, okay? But when you run into those kind of problems, you're not actually telling people to set goals. What you're telling them is to clarify those goals, get them aligned with each other, have them so they don't conflict with each other. And sometimes people don't know what to do because they have no interest. And this is a good segue into the factors that generate emotion.
Yes, very good, yeah.
Okay? All right. There are actually 4 factors that generate emotion. All right? And as far as I know, I've looked, but if somebody can point me to it, I have not found any book on psychology or on cognitive science that actually addresses this in this way. So open to discussion with anybody.
It'll be great if anybody can help us to get Jordan Peterson on the line and talk to us. We will be indebted. It'll be so nice to have JP to maybe call in from Russia and talk to us. I'm sure he'll enlighten us about it. But alas, we'll continue with us.
Okay. So the 4 factors are: the first one is interest.
Interest.
Okay. Interest is a basic emotion generation factor. Okay. Interest is the thing that makes you feel curious. It's the thing that draws you to something. Okay. People don't really know why a person considers something beautiful or attractive. Okay. But if you were to actually analyze it, there are actual reasons as to why the mind finds certain things attractive. Food can look very attractive because when you see the colors and the moisture and the mixture of the liquid and the solids in a certain way, your eye associates that with really good taste. And if there's really good smell, then there's always really good taste, almost always, that goes with it. Okay, so basically, this is the goal of achievement of wanting to eat something that you see on a table. Or have you ever watched these cooking shows where the guy's cooking and you're watching and you start salivating and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry watching this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's your mind kicking in and actually setting a goal for you of achievement, of it's time to eat.
Yep.
Okay, and but alas, you can't make the food as good as what they have on there. But you know what I've done? I've watched those shows, and I'll go out to a restaurant at that time because I can't cook as well as those guys, but I can go to a restaurant and pay more money for a meal that actually is better quality.
Yeah.
Whereas if I hadn't watched that show, I'd probably just eat at home.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's very
so
good.
yeah, so okay, so you have interest.
Oh,
Now
one
you
more.
be interested.
On interest. Is there anything to do with exploratory
Yes,
exploration?
if something is new, if something is new,
Hmm.
then you may be attracted to new things. All right? Now, not everybody's attracted to new things. Some people hate change. They hate new things. They feel much more comfortable with the good old familiar, the good old tried and true.
Hmm.
Okay? So, for those people, interest is a different kind of interest. They find interest in what is familiar. Other people find interest in what is new and what is different because they get bored with the things that are common. They actually get a emotional charge out of the thrill of discovering something new. Okay? So that's actually feeding in.
Yep.
If a person has kind of learned not to look at new things, and usually that would be learned as well, right? Is because maybe every time it was new, it was painful. Like for example, maybe they were moved around a lot to different schools. They were always having to meet new people, but they were always facing bullying when they did. Now to them, new means danger, means something to be avoided.
Yeah.
Okay, so therefore they don't want new and they don't want change.
So what we're talking about here is the interest being basically multiplied by achievement and avoidance, right? Because there's a two scenarios there. One for
Well, yes, all four of the factors have both avoidance and
yep.
achievement. Okay,
Awesome.
so when we get into the second factor, you'll see how that all works. Okay, so interest is the first thing that can attract you to move. Okay, remember what we said? It's enlightened motion.
Yeah.
So the thing that can get you to move first is something that gets your interest. Okay, so like you're staring here and you see something out of the corner of your eye and you turn your head to look at it. Okay, that is the interest mechanism kicking in, and you're wanting to see what's this thing over here. Is
Yeah.
it something I recognize, or is it a car ready to hit me, or is
Yeah.
it something of this sort that I need
Yeah.
to get out of the way, right? I need to run because something's chasing me. All
Yeah.
right, so basically, that's like the most primitive level of emotional factor is interest, and I think this is also what like flies have, right? And what little creatures have is they have the interest emotion driving them, that they'll see something that interests them,
Yeah.
and so they go over to it. It moves them over. Now we don't usually think of that as an emotion, but it actually is. That is an emotional response to how you feel towards it. That feeling of curiosity. Ooh, I wonder what that is. I got to go check that out. Okay, that is an emotion that you're feeling. You don't normally associate that with an emotional response, but it actually is
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
think about it.
I'm also wondering that I would probably see that humans have a much better tank, I would say, for storing the patterns, right? For
Oh yeah.
causality graph, right? Where I would see like a fly would probably not have so much, not such a big tank to store the causality
Well, he
graph.
might
So
not even have the ability to do the the
remembering
other
stuff.
things.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
remembering. So, and maybe
Yeah.
that's why the creatures that don't have a lot of kind of ability to store these kind of patterns, they basically just hyper exploratory because really they got nothing else. Like they don't know what's. They just keep doing the same thing over.
But they
Actually,
seem to understand danger,
of course, yeah, yeah, because it's
right?
basically yeah, yeah. That's
And
an
they
avoidance.
and you can see fairly sophisticated emotions coming out of
Yeah,
other mammals, dogs, cats,
yeah,
all
yeah,
of that.
yeah,
When you see how they play and how they interact with each other, it's much more sophisticated than just a simple, you know, protozoa type mechanism, right?
yeah.
So Okay, so what's the second factor? The second factor is desire. Okay, so desire is also fueled from the goal matrix, right? But these are goals that are personal. These are goals that are to satisfy your own sensation of pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean just physical pleasure. It could mean physical pleasure, but it could also mean psychological pleasure. Like, why do people do crossword puzzles? They do crossword puzzles because they enjoy the pleasurable feeling of thinking up the word, getting the word right, and filling it in and seeing them come together. There is a satisfaction that happens with that, and that satisfaction is a mental pleasure.
So that's
Okay.
like almost the endorphin rush that you get from things, right? As well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, emotions probably are, the actual sensations you get
Yeah.
are connected to endorphins in one
Yeah.
way, and then there are other mechanisms for the other responses.
Like adrenaline, when you get in danger,
Adrenaline.
adrenaline goes the opposite, where you're like,
Yeah.
are
The
you
fear,
basically,
the,
yeah,
the, the fear
yeah,
makes you
yeah,
shake, and
yeah, it gives you a
people.
kick.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, cool. That's cool.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so we have desire.
Hmm.
So that's where people, and remember, there's this hierarchy. Okay, so you have the high level desires, and then you have the lower level ones that are designed to get you to help you achieve those.
Hmm.
And so here's what happens with the desire. If you have a goal of achievement and you look like you're going to achieve it, especially if it's a higher level one, it generates this feeling of happiness, this feeling of joy. Okay. When you get that joy inside of you, that's when a goal of achievement is looking to you like it's going to be achieved, like you're going to be successful
Yeah.
at the thing, right? And you might have a quiet resolve of feeling of happiness, like i'm I'm getting my PhD given to me after working my butt off for 6 years, and I've done it, and people are congratulating me, and there's this great feeling of elation, okay,
Yeah.
inside. um, if you look like a goal of achievement is not going to be met, okay, then that creates what we know as sadness and disappointment.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why is sadness associated with the goals of achievement? Because achievement is not as pressing as avoidance. And here's why. You find yourself in your present state, whatever that is, wherever you're living, whatever you're doing, wherever you're working, you are handling that situation. You may not be as far advanced as you would like to be, but you are more advanced than what you could be,
Yeah.
right? And so your mind is at rest with that, is dealing with that, okay? You have goals of achievement to improve your situation,
Yeah.
but you have goals of avoidance to keep from going backwards and to keep from descending into a worse situation, right? So if you look like you're going to fail at a goal of avoidance, right, then this is an immediate threat, okay? Because you know that it takes you a long time to gain ground, and you can lose ground very quickly.
Yeah.
So therefore, there's a pressing matter that you must attend to immediately, and an urgency. And that's why when you have a goal of avoidance that looks like it's going to fail, that generates fear. That generates, the adrenaline kicks in, the flight or fight. Okay, you run, you deal with it, you get frantic.
Yeah.
Okay, and basically that's why.
And
Okay.
that creates that psychological basically problems with you, because you, I suppose, where if you align those things that you fear and actually get some resolve on, are they actually meaningful, maybe sometimes you could avoid, because obviously if you have a lot of avoidance issues and you try to avoid a lot of things, dealing with those might actually help. But now we're getting into psychology advice, so let's avoid
Yeah,
that.
and really, just remaining where you are, some people do that.
Yeah.
they're like, well, you know what? I'm happy, sort of happy with where I am, because I realize I could be worse. So as long as, in fact, their achievement becomes maintain the status quo,
Yeah.
and I'm at peace. Okay? Because the opposite of fear is peace. You're you don't have fear. You can relax. You
Yeah.
can rest.
So then in a
Take a
sense,
breath.
then then
Right?
in then in a sense, then the if the avoidance is higher, like if it's urgency, right? You can actually then explain why some people who just cannot stand still because they may be afraid that they're not gonna succeed in something, and that's they seeing themselves like I'm not making something, so I'll drive harder. Like you know, what I mean, they just go hard because it's much
Well,
bigger
it's
emotion.
because they've decided that they don't like where they are,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
So they need to improve their situation, and
Yeah,
they realize that that's very tough to do. And that's why when they achieve it, there's this huge feeling of elation, okay? Because when you're looking to achieve something, you're looking to improve your situation, looking to add to your
yeah,
situation, right? And so if and the whole world is working against you to do that, pretty much, right? So therefore, there's this feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction when you do achieve it, and that creates this feeling of happiness,
yeah.
right? Um,
Yep.
when people lose hope on their goals, okay, on like inside they might have thought, if I just hang in there long enough, this situation will change. Something will present itself, right?
Yep.
And I'll be able to take advantage of that and be able to move out of the situation. But then they start, it drags on, nothing ever changes. They're trying to figure out how it might, and they can't figure it out. Now they start to get depressed. They start to lose hope
Yeah.
for improving their situation, or if they're in or they can actually get depressed because they start to anticipate going backwards, and so there's fear mixed with it, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so the best thing to alleviate depression is to get some new goals,
Yeah.
okay. A lot of times people hang on to their goals, and they don't know how to realign them. So I think that one of the main things of therapy is goal clarification and realignment, okay, and maybe replacement, okay. Come up with something new.
Yep. Yep. That's a good plug for books like this. Yeah. 12 Rules for Life. You know, there's your goal alignment. You know, this is a very successful book. What it's doing is just trying to give people some goals. You know, people have troubles figuring out their goals. That helps them with that. Totally agree. Very good. That's awesome. We're up
Okay.
onto 40 minutes now.
All right. Well, you know what? This is a big subject.
It's
and
great.
So
Yeah.
I think we could probably go.
We will. Let's
hour.
finish off. Let's finish off consciousness and empathy. I think there's a.
Yeah,
Oh, I've just
okay.
given it away,
All
but
right.
that's there.
I'll move into those now.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Conscience.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where we have a set of rules inside of our mind for ourselves and others.
Yep.
We have a set of entitlements and responsibilities. Okay? And when we have avoidances and achievements, those are more what you might call morals. Okay? Those are like do's and don'ts.
Yep.
Okay? The reason is because, man has figured out over time that if you do these things, it's going to lead to bad results.
Yeah.
Not just for you, but for others as well. Now, here's the thing about conscience. Conscience is taught to us by our parents, hopefully, okay, from the earliest age, where they don't allow us just to pursue our own selfish desires.
Yeah.
Okay? That because no person is an island, everybody exists in a society. So we know that you can't have people just totally focus on their own desires. If you were to leave them go, I believe firmly that they would just totally look to satisfy themselves, and that's it.
Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly right. Yeah.
So they're taught that, hey, there's some goals that society has for you.
Yeah.
Other families might have it that, they're religious and they have God's laws, God's commands. Okay. And so they're taught those, and those get into their mind, and they realize that, when they go to some place, they go to a store and they see something, and maybe they really want it and they don't have money for it. So the thought comes to them, I think I would like to set a goal to get that thing. Okay. But I don't see how I'm going to do it honestly. So I think I might think about stealing that. Okay. Now, one of the other goals kicks in, and their brain tells them, hey, what did your parents tell you? Don't steal.
Yeah.
Stealing's wrong. You get caught, you go to prison. Okay. You'll get fined and you'll be a bad person. So generally, you have these goals working inside your mind, and there's a whole process of goal resolution.
Mm-hmm.
How does the brain pick a goal to follow? How does the brain resolve goal conflicts where you've got, for example, one goal says do this, another goal says do that? Well, some people have a very strong conscience. Their conscience will override their desires,
Yep.
right? And it becomes like a wrestling match. How many have felt that wrestling match inside, right? Where you want to do something, but you shouldn't. And that's your goal of conscience working in conflict with the goal of desire of what you're wanting to do.
And
right?
a good one, how many people think that in their head that I don't want to do it, but you still do it, and then you go guilty about it. And then you do some more red dish to make yourself feel better about the guilty part.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Like
there's all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ways that the mind tries to handle these conflicts, because every time a goal is failed, okay, let me tell you what the guilt is all about. Okay? Guilt is really self-anger. Okay? And anger, remember we talked about sadness
Yep.
and happiness with the goals of achievement under the desire category,
Mm-hmm.
under the desire factor.
Yep.
Then we talked about fear and peace as the two complementary emotional responses
Mm-hmm.
for desire avoidance goals, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, under the conscience one, you can have either the emotion of peace once again, okay? Or you can have the emotion of anger. And this is where anger comes from. The anger is really associated with, you can get angry at somebody because you think that they should not have done whatever they did, or they should have done whatever they did not do. Okay, so you're directing your anger at them because you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'm following this rule, you need to as well. Okay, because we have justice here, and you don't get to get away with it if I don't get to get away with it. So there's this indignation of wanting to have them follow the rules.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can also get angry at yourself when you fail to follow the rules that you set for yourself. You see yourself as weak, and you see yourself as giving in. Now, a lot of times people are a lot easier on themselves than they are on others, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, but yeah, so that feeling of anger, you know where it comes from. It comes from your conscience, okay, failing at a goal that was set in order to either achieve or avoid.
Yep.
Okay, so that's interest, desire, conscience. Lastly, we have empathy. So what is empathy? The reason empathy is thrown in there as a factor is because it's responsible for emotional responses that you can identify as forgiveness, understanding, making excuses for yourself and for others, okay? Usually empathy can override the conscience, okay? So for example, if somebody comes into your house and is getting food out of your refrigerator, stealing from you. You get your gun out,
Yeah.
you know, and you go over to them and you say, "What are you doing? What are you doing in my house?" Right? You're angry and you're about to shoot the person. And the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry. My grandmother is sick and my kids are starving and I didn't know where else to go. I really need some food." And right away, then the empathy kicks in, the emotions go,
Yeah.
way down, and you have this feeling of, "Oh, yeah, I've been there. Okay, here, let me give you some more food."
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
So, so that's a kind of emotional adjustment that's made.
Yeah.
Okay, and um, I think that empathy allows you to ask and answer the question why. Remember?
Yeah.
Why?
Mhm.
Right? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why do you do this? So what empathy allows you to do is to get into the other person's goal hierarchy and actually see their goal hierarchy. And when you see their goal hierarchy and you see that it's not morally flawed like you thought, okay, then you can temper your own emotional response to what they're doing. So this begins to get to what are emotions, why are they vital. You can really see from this that without emotions you would do nothing. Okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
and emotions are not some vestige of evolution. They are a fundamental part of what makes us intelligent and what makes us able to have the nuanced behavior that we do.
Yeah. And
So,
potentially puts us into quite a lot of conflict, which we have to continually sort and
right, right.
make smooth and make sure that we act in a proper way, and
That's right.
we don't be
I
all
mean,
on the
if you ask the person, right, what's the standard answer? Oh, so are you in a relationship? The standard answer is it's complicated,
Is it standard
right?
on
That's the
Facebook?
standard answer.
Is it on Facebook? Yeah, yeah, no, exactly, yeah, yeah. Or you ask people and they say, "How you going?" and they say, "Oh, not bad," and you're like, "Not bad relative to bad? Where
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
live?"
Oh, that
Yeah.
not bad is where they want to say terrible, but they don't want to put that on you,
Yeah,
right?
but I always say to them, well, you don't live in a third world country, so you're amazing. Because you have so much stuff. Like, people ask me in the street, how you going? Like, amazing. And they all laugh. I'm like, why? You just said to me in the street, I'm walking by you, and you say to me, how are ya? You're not
Yeah,
saying, give me your money. You're saying, how are ya? That's
yeah,
already
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Forget anything else. That's amazing.
If you were in Russia, they'd be asking
Yeah.
you for your money.
Yeah, exactly. I've been there, done that. Yeah, and that you really changes your perspective. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Totally right. Well, this is quite nice. I mean, I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think we've covered our agenda. Do we want to
Okay.
do a break, and then we'll let what people who are watching us let us know what
Yeah,
something
we
they
can
want to
do
use?
we can stop here and then we can do a part 2 on
Yes.
emotions and we can dive more into nitty-gritty details if people want to hear that.
I think we're gonna have to do it so that we have that spelt out and we have it for the agenda for
Okay.
everybody else. Well,
Okay.
thanks very much. I think this was great. We've covered a lot of things. I've been taking notes. I'll put them into the comments and the on YouTube, and we'll just wait for people to give us some feedback. Thanks
All
for
right.
watching, everyone,
Sounds good.
and we'll see you on Sunday.
Okay.